Well, there you go. Everything you need to know about the new Yana. And there's a lot of expectation on his shoulders as a person with a reputation as a unifier. Many are hoping that he will be the key to prolonged and sustainable peace in the region. Now, there's a lot that we're learning about the origin of this dispute, where it all kicked off from. You know, it involves the Albudu and Anadani clans, as we already know. And they were each laying claim to the right to select the next Yana, the king of the Dagomba people. They also contested the procedure for the selection of the king, the procedure itself, and of course the institutions or persons responsible for that selection. Now, this actually started a while back. The most recent conflict has lasted about 17 years, but the disagreements started a while back. 1948 is how far back we can trace this. But right now we have images of the former president John Dramani Mahama arriving in Yendi for this historic event, the investiture of the new Yana. Let's see what we can pick up of the ambience and the excitement around the arrival of the former president. Former President John Dramani Mahama arriving in Yendi for the investiture of the new Yana. The president is the special guest of honor. He will be there as well. Several members of government traveled up to Yendi yesterday so that they can be there for today's event. They're clearly prioritizing this. The vice president is the only one who won't be there because he, of course, is in Davos at the moment. But yes, clearly the government prioritizing this all-important historic event. Now, in terms of the the people involved, they belong to one of the largest ethnic groups in Ghana. So whether you're an Andani or an Abudu, clearly
you're Dagbon.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And they are all you will find them in communities all across the country.
Absolutely.
Contributing positively to our nation's development. How in terms of a matter that ought to be local, but of course is national, how do you assess the way Ghanaians have been affected by this, whether they belong to the Dagbon,
the Abudu and Dani?
Yes. How do you feel Ghanaians have been affected by this? They are all Dagombas, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think that this has helped us, those of us who are not from there necessarily. We're learning a lot more beyond the deaths of the Yanas.
That's right.
We've been, our eyes have now been opened, because before you were careful what to say. So I'm not sure we learned a lot, but now we're getting to know Yendi beyond the conflicts, and to see, for instance, that the CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, Hassan Tampuli, comes from the area. We're knowing now, if we didn't before, that the head of Stanbic Bank, Alassane Andani, comes from the area. So it's and we're appreciating the culture, the rich culture, because we've told several stories even here on JoyNews about the Dagbon culture. We've learned about the Yana.
Sorry, you're watching on your screen the arrival of Johnson Asiedu Nketia, the General Secretary of the NDC. Yes, Mama B.
I was just trying to recall some of the things that we've shared even on JoyNews, and the last thing I mentioned was the Yana wives, which generated a lot of interest, obviously. Looking at the numbers, we've also witnessed the women cook. You mentioned it. So I think this has given us an opportunity to learn beyond the killings, the gruesome murders, beyond the instability. We've learned a lot more about the area that we didn't know in the past. So we've added to what we know about Ghana. We're exploring Yendi like we've never done before.
Yes, indeed. And we talked about those who have contributed to where we are today. If you recall, in 2006 there was a roadmap for peace under former President Kufuor, and it's great to be able to tick off things from your list. When you set up a roadmap and you're able to tick them off, indicating that you have arrived at your destination. So there were 5 benchmarks on that roadmap for peace. One was the burial of the late Yana Andani II, the installation of the regent of the late king, which also happened, the performance of the funeral of the deposed Yana Mahamadou Abdullahi IV, and then of course the performance of the funeral of the Yana Yakubu Andani himself, the second, and then the final selection and enskinment of the new Yana for Dagbon. And all 5 have been achieved, and you can take them off your list and say, job done. And it's a source of pride, I believe, for the people of Dagbon.
I think one of the persons, the key persons that I would love to hear from on a day like this, look at his face and see his reaction, will be former President John Ajackum Kufuor.
Indeed. He set this up with a goal which is now being achieved, and no doubt he will be very
back in
pleased.
2002. And it will be good also to listen to what Otumfuo Osei will have to say. I mean, he's traveled back and forth on this process, and we're here today. This is almost like the end of it. After today, I mean, it's up to the people of Yendi to hold it, to hold their side of the bargain, and ensure and hold the government responsible and make them develop the area.
The Otumfuo has been very hands-on in this process. Very recently, you heard him really stepping in and moving things in a particular direction towards peace. How do you assess his involvement in this?
I think again, he's an Ashanti king leading this. I mean, it tells us a lot about our own country, and sometimes beyond the politics, we fail to appreciate, that this is somebody who's coming from an entirely different place, and he's leading a process like this, supervising a process that involves, persons from other cultures. And it comes back to the unity. When we say we're united, I guess it is within these things that's when we get to know that truly we're one people as Ghanaians. And for this day to come, it just shows you how a great leader he is. You know, not only be able to bring the people under him together, but he's gone beyond. This is a national exercise, and I think that he's been excellent at it. Yeah.
Well, you know, we could go at this all day, but it's time now for Bernice Abubedu-Lansa and her team to take over. Live coverage continues. Live coverage continues of the investiture of the new Yana on News Desk, which is up next.
Both sides in support. So these are the significant changes, and we are happy that the entire nation can share in this glory. Today you've seen that we've mounted a big Ghana flag up here, that Ghana is here to support what the people of Dagbon. And if you go through the crowds and speak to the people, they will not tell you that I am Andani or I am Abudus or I am unhappy. They will tell you that I am Andani or I am Abudu, but I am happy. Indeed, yesterday, if you watched, and this morning, you saw people in the party colors of various political parties joining and all excited that we have come to this threshold. So it's a good day for Ghana, it's a good day for Yendi and for Dagbon.
Well, I've not seen the names of the Kampankuyana and the Bolilana any part of the itinerary for today, and I've not seen their presence here.
No, it is our understanding that they will be here. It is our understanding that they will be here. And if you understand Dagbon culture, you will understand why they may not necessarily be chiefs here today, because they were regents installed to conduct the funerals of their fathers at the time. But today you see you know, the paramountcies are all here in their regular, and it is my understanding as at last night that they will also be here to join in the glory of the day.
Thank you very much, Honorable. And that was the Honorable Minister for Information, Kojo Opo Nkrumah, telling us about the road where we've come from this far, telling us about the compromises that this government has had to make in bringing these two divided factions together. As he said, you really cannot identify people by their political parties at this gathering. You cannot identify them by their ethnic affiliation. What you can identify everybody here with is Ghana. And there is a very tall Ghana flag which has been mounted right at the center of this gathering, signifying that Ghana has won. And as the minister did say at the beginning, the entire country has come together to rally behind Dagbon in its very difficult times. And so in its happy times, the entire country has come together to support and to share in their merry-making. So this one was live, right?
Hello, this is our continuing coverage of the investiture of Yana Bukari, Mahama Abdullahi II, and we've been bringing you stories from Dagbon over the days and weeks. Now, it's interesting to note that there has been a lot with regards to dealing with the conflict in Dagbon, and I'm sure that if you are from there, largely if you're a Ghanaian, you'll be excited at where we've reached now. But let me just tell you some history, past overlords of Dagbon. There was Yana Abdullahi III, and he was king from 1953 to 1967. Yana Mahmudu Abdullahi from 1969 to 1974. Then there was Yana Yakubu Andani II, and he was king from 1974 to 2002. Now, you would know that between 2002 and now, there has been some sort of a break because there has been a protracted conflict resulting from the assassination of Yana Yakubu Andani II, and he was just buried a few weeks ago. I've still got my colleague Kojo Yanson with me. I am Bernice Abubedulansa, and this is the Joy News channel, bringing you live coverage from Yendi. And Kojo, it's interesting. Earlier, you and Mama V were talking about the history of the conflict of the Abudus and Andanis who come together to make the people of Dagbon.
That's right.
And over the years, governments have tried to deal with the problem. But as we see today and as we are told, this investiture is one strong pillar in that roadmap, you know, to restore total peace to Dagbon. We've been also speaking to some politicians, and many of them are at that place. How does this together, you know, look for the people of Dagbon, as we have observed over the years?
Well, Mama B and I were, no, I was just referring to something Mama B said about how there's been a lot of politicization, partisan politicization of the process as it has unfolded in Dagbon. And that has been the unfortunate aspect of it. Even now, as we see peace, you know, over the horizon, you see some attempts to take credit for it by some, you know, parties, and that mars the efforts that the people of this area, the Dagombas, have actually gone through their own efforts. And it's a pity, you know, because from the very beginning, all the way back in 1948, when Yana Muhammad II died, and his son, you know, failed in his bid to succeed his father as the king. From that moment onwards, you know, there appeared to be a certain alignment of the two gates with political parties. You know, the Abudus were aligned with the UP, and the Andanis were associated with the CPP, and this was before independence. And this just continued throughout the years. It appeared that you know, every time there's a new government, there are two new factions of political ilk. The two gates would align themselves with one or the other, with the hope that they would be the ones that would push and promote them to take over the skin. And this has just continued throughout the years. And for me, that has been a negative aspect of this and not a positive one. I don't think partisan politics has improved the situation there. And yes, you can see there is a bid to give credit to the president, you know, for what has happened there. And there is no doubt that this president has played an important role in bringing this peace into being. But we always want to make sure that we don't end up back where we began, with two political parties seeking to take two opposite sides of any issue in Dagbon, because the slightest spark in Dagbon could turn this all on its head, and we do not want that.
We'll be telling you more about this, the president's golden dream for Dagbon, what he wants to see happen to Dagbon after this investiture. But as we wait for that ceremony to begin proper, let's take a look at the facelift the Bewa Na Palace received.
Inside the Nagbewa Palace, the symbolic lion of Dagbon is getting a makeover ahead of the big day. Bawa Hudu Al-Hassan is one of the young men making a beautiful painting of the lion at the entrance of the palace.
The lion signifies, that is the symbol for Dagbon. So the king, I mean the Yana, he is the lion, and this is the symbol that signifies Dagbon. Everywhere you see lion, you see that there's the Gombas there. Both Abudu and Dane, we are all here. We are happy, and we thank Almighty Allah.
In the inner perimeters of the palace too, a motor grader is leveling the field with more clay while water is sprinkled to control the dust. This town is readying itself for some of its biggest guests of all time, says Alhaji Ahmed Abubakar Yusuf, the MC here.
Tomorrow is going to be exactly the 7th day after the Yana was unskinned. And by custom, tomorrow is the day that he will have to enter the palace, the Biawa Palace, but to be outdoor to the public. So he is expected to be outdoor to the public, to talk to the public for the first time.
For the people in this town who for years endured the conflict that the absence of a substantive king has caused, tomorrow cannot come soon enough.
We're expecting a significant number of people. Just the Yana alone, he's got over 400 chiefs under his direct jurisdiction. And then there are over thousands of sub-chiefs beyond that. And all these chiefs are supposed to be here. This is one of the greatest moments in the last 100 years, whereby the Dagomba people have had unified one chief, or one king, I must admit. Previously, we've had Abudu King, Andane King. Now there is neither Abudu nor Andane. This is a unifier.
For years, the Lion of Dagbon went to sleep, and in its absence, its people paid the price, some with their lives. Now, with a new king to be outdoored in a matter of hours, it can roll back to its rightful place. And with it, it is hoped, peace and development.
So that's my colleague, Justice Bedu. He put together this report looking forward to today's investiture of Yana Abdullahi Mahama II. Abukari, I beg your pardon, Mahama II. Let's now go to my colleague, Justice Bedu, standing by in Yendi, bringing us all the live updates.
Honorable Mayor for Tamale, popularly known by many as Musa Superior, but he's been very much a strong native of Dagbon and has seen this whole process. Honorable, what do you make of today?
Today there is a clear understanding of symbolism of Dagbon. The Dagbon that created the empire of hope, empire of sustainability, and empire of development. The pessimists today are being put aside. Anybody who is a pessimist, Dagbon rejects you in the most unacceptable manner. Now what we are going to do is to try and find hope and energy and enthusiasm for younger people of Dagbon. And I am confident that the newly installed Yana, who is going to be coronated today, is going to lead and mobilize and galvanize our energies to be able to deliver the vision and purpose of Dagbon.
Right, and people have said that politicians like yourself are very much a key part of this. And many years, I have worked as a journalist reporting from this area for many, many years. And people have told me about the neglect that politicians will come through the three regions of the north, know the problems, and yet when they go up there, decide not to pay attention to the problems and instead take advantage of the chieftaincy conflict and knock heads together. What are people like yourself going to do differently from today?
I'm leading the vision of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana. His singular and most important effort has brought us this far. Now, what we have to be telling Ghanaians is that we have a responsibility as a Ghanaian citizen to keep the politicians' feet to the fire. And therefore, that's what we have to do. And that is why this gathering is very important. The decision of the Dagbon Kingdom to get united today, to stand on its feet, and to be able to deliver a purposeful mission is what everybody wants now. So if we get together and get united and get focused and do the right things, the politicians cannot come and tell us what they want. We have to challenge the politicians by our sense of unity and sense of thinking and sense of development. So that if the politicians come and want to talk, then you are confident enough because you have the kingdom behind you. You have the Dagbon tradition behind you, the principles of faith behind you, to be able to challenge any politician who comes here to talk about things that he cannot deliver or come here to create unnecessary bickering and tension in Dagbon area.
Mr. Superior, you are mayor for Tamale, which is the regional capital and also the biggest town in the Dagbon area. What clear plans, where do we go from here beyond today?
Oh, today we are celebrating, a massive celebration. Young men are here. You are seeing this lady dressed in the most fantabulous manner. Everybody's here. Now, this is going to be the new horizon for Dagbon. So that from here, We're going to forgive each other. We're going to do things together. We're not going to, these divisions of Abudu and Dani is no longer there. It's dead. We have killed it. For me, that's the hope. The hope of Dagbon is the absolute destruction of the Abudu and Dani thing. We are Dagombes first, we are Dagombes second, we are Dagombes third, and we are Dagombes forever. And that's how we're going to lead the emancipation process and lead the development process of Dagbon.
Thank you very much. And that's the mayor for Tamale. I would speak now to one of the young women who is here. You are a young person. Tell me, how old are you, and what have you seen about Dagbon in terms of its recent past?
My name is Hamdia, and I'm 29 years old. And Dagbon, as we speak today, we are all happy because for the past years we have not seen this. And as a young girl growing up, I have never seen this. Today is my first time of witnessing this, and I'm happy to be part of it. I'm so happy. So I want to encourage my young ladies and then guys who are at home. They should all dress up in their traditional wear, come out and then witness this.
And how do you think young people like yourself should be a part of this? What do you think young people should be doing?
We should be part of it because we are the future, and all this is happening because
we've just been moved from the location where we are at the moment. The crowd here is very huge, and it's understandable. All of these measures are being put in place to manage the crowd, and so we've just been asked to move from the location where we are to be able to continue the interviews that we are doing. And this is our live coverage. This is our live coverage of the outdooring of Yana Abukari II, the new Yana, the new king of Dagbon, and people from all walks of life, men, women, children, from across Dagbon, and indeed the entire country are here to be part of this historic event. And all through the day, we would be speaking to anybody who matters in this process to bring you all sides of the story as this process goes on.
Justice Bedu there in Yendi for us. Here in the studio, I've got my colleague Kojo Yankson with me. It's exciting to see today. And in November, when the roadmap was announced, we were told what the processes would be. The first Yana, Mamadou Abdullahi was to be buried. Then Yana Yakubu and Dani II's funeral was to follow. But we cannot deny what seemed to be a bit of a threat to the process because there were concerns that the funeral of Yana Yakubu and Dani II was not going to go on because his family had complained that a member of the Abudu family was still occupying the Bewa Palace, and so we had the Otum 4-led committee of eminent chiefs quickly step in, and I must say that was quite proactive. When there was a suspension of the funeral on Saturday, they came to say on Sunday, they released a statement that the funeral would, take place on Sunday, even though there were a bit of concerns. What would you like to say with regards to the role of the chiefs themselves? We're speaking about politics and politicians, but let's look at the support from the chiefs as well.
I think the eminent chiefs did a fantastic job. They brought direction to a process of dialogue which was at risk of getting derailed. The reason why conflicts spring up anywhere in the world is because of the focus on specific detail, the amount of detail that people focus on and can get very passionate about. This issue of the palace being occupied by somebody who where one side felt was inappropriate to occupy the palace. This was a detail that was coming up at a late hour simply because, you know, these people had been used to being at loggerheads for such a long time that, you know, every single thing that was happening was analyzed and over-scrutinized by each side to the point where they would, you know, notice the little things that they felt were, you know, either going to bring embarrassment or somehow degrade or, you know, in some way diminish their, you know, their role. And so it was important for these eminent chiefs to really bring direction to a situation which was very fast about to get derailed. You know, we had already had the Supreme Court ruling by then, and somehow, even after the Supreme Court ruling, there were so many misgivings on both sides. And so the Otumfuo, you know, being quite a central person on that committee of a council of eminent chiefs, really did a good job in bringing focus to the discussion, and we're so glad that it has led us now to this point.
Let's take you now back to Yendi. That's where all the attention is today, even as the investiture of Yana Bukari Mahama II takes place. Justice Bedu is there for us.
Everybody has taken a seat. The former president is here. People, members of the government, ministers of state, members of the opposition, NDC, are all represented here duly. And we would be speaking to the people as they come in here. And the message is just one. People are ready to move on and put the past behind them.
So there's a live visuals coming to you from the Bewa Palace in Yendi. And something historic is happening today. After 17 years, Dagbon finally gets a new king in the person of Yana Abukari Mahama II. And we've been talking a lot about this process, where the conflict started from, and how over the years, past governments have tried to resolve the problem. And earlier, Kojo Yankson and Mama Viewuso Abwaje were telling you about the roadmap for peace in 2006, as far back as 2006, and that was after President Kufuor, former President Kufuor, constituted a committee of eminent chiefs comprising of 4 prominent Ghanaian kings in 2003. This has been a lot of years, and so you must appreciate the excitement that comes along with what we are seeing today. And obviously, there are many, many who wish they would have lived to see this day, but some of them had to pay with their lives, not forgetting that the conflict cost us not only development in Yendi, but also many, many, many lives. And so we are really excited as a people, and I'm sure that our colleagues and friends in Dagbon are also excited by this. But just in your shots there, you saw a soldier there trying to, I'm sure, monitor and observe all that's happening to maintain peace. Could you let's talk about the role of the security agencies?
Indeed.
They really had, in some cases, quite a tough job, let me put it that way, in dealing with the conflict. Even with the recent activities lined up in the roadmap, we realized that at a point there had to be a curfew because there was some gunshots from a location and the police had to go in there. I think they've also done a good job.
I have to agree, and you know, this has been the case for decades now. You know, the police and the military have been called into these areas to resolve conflicts. Well, we say resolve, but to quell the violent aspect of conflicts for a very long time, and it can't be easy. I mean, the military are not designed to be deployed in civilian populations, but they've done a good job with it every time they've been called upon.
All right, we'll have to take you now back to Yendi.
Of the Yana. I think today is the clearest manifestation of what was said at the Jubilee House to the presidents. The parties have taken their turns to perform their funerals, and then we went into the next phase, which was the selection of the Yana, and today culminates into the enskinment of the Yana. I think that we give glory to the Most High, the Almighty Allah, for bringing us to this day. As you can see, there are chiefs opinion from both sides of the chieftaincy divide. You have the Abudus and you have the Andanis. And that tells you that we are slowly but surely getting to a stage where we will wipe away what used to be the Abudus and what used to be the Andanis. The great-grandfather of this Yana is the one who started who is the grandfather of the two gates. That's his great-grandfather. His grandfather was the Yana Na Andani. Then his father became the Yana Na Andani the second. And today it is his turn. There have been about 44 Yanas since the year 1416, since the days of Nanyasi. He's the 44th. The Dagbon kingdom has been in existence way back into the 13th century. And we've had challenges, especially over the past 200 years. I think that today marks the time when we have to look forward to a Dagbon where we are more of the Gombes than Abudus or Andanis. Abudu and Andani were brothers. They are not like clans, as some people would want to believe. They are brothers from the same father. There were 4 brothers. Abudu was the first, Andani was the second, then you had Muhammad, then you have Darmani. They were one father. And then their lineage is what we are seeing today that is supposed to be succeeding to the throne of the Yana. So I believe that we have come to the realization that we cannot develop unless we are one, unless we eschew conflicts and then keep together our unity. How to make this happen is what you are seeing today. And I believe that the Yana has sent the clearest indication that he is going to be a unifier. He's going to be the Yana for the Gombes and not the Yana for Andanis or Abudus. He's going to operate an open door policy. And I believe when his address is read today, you will get the clearest indication where the government is headed to.
Honorable, we can't deny the fact that politicians like yourself have very much been a part of the problem coming to today. Going from today, what do you think, and politicians like yourself, what are you going to commit to do differently?
I think that we have to maintain the sanctity of the chieftaincy institution. Like I said, over the past 200 years, there has been one intervention or the other in the enskinment of the Yana since the colonial days, even before the colonial period, and up to 1930. When his father became the Yana, there was some amount of political intervention by the British colonial district commissioner. So there's been one intervention here or the other. But we, the Gombes, have to own our chieftaincy and preserve the sanctity of the institution and make sure that we do not do anything that will encourage any government to get involved in our internal affairs. All of us are going to make that commitment, both sides of the political debate, both MPP and NDC, regardless of how much political capital we are likely to score. Let's ensure that Dagbon gets its just desserts, so that we do not have any intervention. We do not have such intervention in other traditional areas, and Dagbon has to insist that we do not get that intervention. Yes, indeed, politicians have been part of the problem, and as you can see, a politician is resolving the problem today. Mr. President can get all the accolades that he deserves for giving personal commitment and resources culminating in today's event. I think that we have to give thanks and praises to God, but next we have to thank the President, and we can't thank him enough. I think I'm short of words how much to express my appreciation, my profound gratitude to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana for all that he has done and the personal commitment that he has put into today's event.
Honorable, you talk about not taking advantage of this process to score points. People have accused your party of claiming ownership of this process and insisting that you have made this day possible, and it has been interpreted to mean scoring political points on the back of this process.
I think that's subject to somebody's interpretation. The President of the Republic of Ghana is responsible for maintaining peace and security, maintaining order in the country. Under Article 58 of the Constitution, he can do so directly or through his subordinates. He has been doing it himself. He has been doing it through the National Security Minister. He has been doing it to the Minister of Chieftaincy Affairs. He's provided all the resources that is needed by both sides of the chieftaincy divide to ensure that today's event comes into a fruition. I think we can't deny that fact. That fact is undeniable. So where where praise is due, we have to give praise. Well, it depends on how you interpret it, but that is the facts. That is the fact.
And that is the Honorable Hassan Tampuli. He's also a son of Yendi, very much at that. Honorable, so what's the plan? Young people like yourself, what are you going to do? We know that government has recently announced a water project that is coming to Yendi as a result of this peace process. But what are we to expect that young people like yourself who have come here are going to do differently to help the development of Dagbon?
I think that we cannot reinvent the wheel. There's no necessity to reinvent the wheel. We have seen good examples of what other traditional areas are doing in the country. For instance, we have the educational trust funds, you have the homecoming events, you have, you know, investor conferences, investor forums that are being taken place in different parts of the country. And I believe we'll take a cue from all those examples and then ensure that development comes to Dagbon. Dagbon is open for investment. Both foreign and domestic investors should look to Dagbon and see that the peace and tranquility that they will see, that they need to ensure that their investments are secured, is what they're going to have. I've said before, and I repeat, that Dagbon is open to the world. And I hope in the next year or the next 2 years that what I'm saying would come to pass. And I don't need to repeat what exactly that we have in offer to the people of Ghana and then the international community. Dagbon is at peace with itself. That I can guarantee you that. We are at peace with ourselves. We have looked at our recent history and we have said that never again.
Thank you very much, Honorable. And never again is the message that runs through everybody you speak to from this place, irrespective of their party or which side of the gate they come from, Andani or Abudu. Everybody is saying that never again to the stories of conflict, the stories of shootings, the story of curfews, of murders and brutality. It is all peace, and Dagbon is rising again, and it's rising from today. The day all hail the king. It's outdoors, it's brand new Yana Abukari II. You went back yesterday. You went back yesterday. No, I
So we're expecting that ceremony to officially commence in a few minutes. President Akufo-Addo is expected to be at that investiture of the new Yana of Dagbon, Yana Abukari Muhammad II. We've brought you countless stories from the place, stories of sorrow, pain, hope, and it's good to see the people excited that their hopes and aspirations have finally come to pass. We've also been doing a bit of analysis, talking about the conflict, where it's believed to have started from. And as you've heard, many of the people my colleague Justice Bedu has spoken to are now trying to, you know, bridge the gap and say, look, we are Dagombas. Let's try and put away this Abudu Andani thing, because that's where the conflict stems from. And Kojo, it's just worth mentioning that they seem focused in achieving that. Say, look, you're not Abudu, you're not Andani, you're Dagomba. So that's who we are. We are all Dagombas, and it's just exciting to know that. But before we went to justice, we're talking about the role of the security agencies in getting to this point. That's right. And I talked about how the military, by design, are not supposed to be deployed in, you know, in civil conflicts, but this particular conflict on many occasions got to the point where we really needed to send in you know, the extreme measure of military intervention. Now I've got to say, on each occasion, I can't think of a single occasion where the incursion of the police or the military has made the situation worse. In each occasion, they've actually made the situation better. They have you know, brought some semblance of ceasefire and peace to the situation. They have stopped
the killing rather than increased the killings. And they have to be commended for that. Look, it's been a delicate balance throughout this period for the military to have always intervened without making things worse. But I also think that this points to a certain respect for authority that the Dagombas have. That in the midst of their personal feuds and their raised emotions, whenever the military intervened, it brought some semblance of peace to the area, even if it was sometimes short-lived. Now the question is, how should the military engage with them going forward? As they want to now have a sustainable peace, should the military have a visible presence? Should they be there all the time? Should we see them every time there are images of Yendi? Should the people of Yendi today, the Dagombas, when they wake up in the morning, should they now get used to the sight of armed men walking around their streets just to preserve the peace? Or can we now start to see a dialing down of the presence of the military? Perhaps surveillance might continue, but it wouldn't be sort of in the face of the people of Yendi, so they can start to get used to peace being a normal thing for them.
Well, talking about peace, it's just one thing you can't deny any one of. I mean, if you've lived in a conflict-prone area or an area that is, you know, known for conflict, you'd understand what it means to have peace. And so we are not overrating this at all. I just want to say that this is indeed historic and is good news for the people of Dagbon. My colleague Justice Bedu is live on the ground. We're expecting the ceremony to kickstart anytime soon. But before that, he's been speaking to a lot of people. He spoke to Farouk Mahama, son of former Vice President Alhaji Aliu Mahama, and Hudu Yaya, and some youth of Dagbon.
Today is a very significant day, and the day the Lord has made. The President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has set the pace and set history in the history of annals of this country. Is the only sitting president of the Republic who has been able to bring peace. Today you can see both left and right. You can see we are united and we are rallying behind to make sure that the President's vision of bringing peace to the region is achieved. Our leader now is the Yana, and we have no Abudu, we have no Andani now. We are now all the indigenous of Dagbon, and we don't have any divide and rule. We are coming together to support our Yana and make him successful and let Dagbon become the icon and the beacon of peace, and set the pace for the children and the generation unborn to know that there was once a great kingdom called Dagbon.
Honorable, and following from just the point that you made, people have warned that politicizing this may get us to a stage where we would relapse because people have come from different sides of the political divide to get us to come together and want to move on as a tradition. People have started accusing the NPP of taking advantage of this to now claim that it is the NPP that has gotten us here. And we've just had people from the opposition also laying counter claims. What do you think this holds for the future of this peace process? When the two leading parties now begin what they do, as always, take advantage of things like this to score political points. What does it mean for the process?
No, this is not politics. Our former president, John Mahama, did his best, but he wasn't decisive and committed to what we wanted to achieve. And if the president of the day, Nana Addo Dankwa, who is the sitting president, who has taken a bold decision to unite Dagbon, you must give credit to the President of the Republic, because he has taken a decisive decision, and it's his decision and all his efforts to make Dagbon unite what has made all of us here today. So in politics, you take credit for what you have done. And even the late Vice President, Alhaji Aliu Mahama, was part of the peace process, but he was not allowed today to see where we have gotten to. So we are taking credit fully for the efforts of the President, and no political party should track the efforts of our President, Nana Addo Dankwa. He is the first President of the Republic who has able to bring peace here
you can see Abudus, you can see Andanis. And today we have no Abudu, we have no Andani. That is a sign of development and a sign sending signals to our opponents to know that we are united and we will never again with Dagbon be divided.
It's a lot. Without unity, there's no development. And Dagbon has suffered a lot under this. So it means a lot to generations today, generations yet unborn.
Honorable, is the National Democratic Congress going to be represented here today?
Definitely, we will, because we started the peace since Rawlings' time in the PNDC. Yeah, I was regional minister over here, so I have a story to tell.
Then that will be a very good story that people, I'm sure, would be yearning to listen to. Tell us how we got here. What has happened? What has gone under the bridge for young people who may not know?
Well, the point is they're having several attempts at, getting the two sides together and getting Dagbon united. It's traveled a long way. Maybe some other day we'll tell the story.
Right, and on social media, if you look, people have warned over politicizing this issue because there are dangers.
No, we should take politics out of this. We should take politics out of this. The people predate politics. I mean, Western politics, because the people had their own politics in those days before even colonialism. But today, in terms of partisan politics, we should take this out of it. The Gombe should be one, irrespective, because in the two major political parties, you will have the two houses, represented. So let's take partisan politics out of this chieftaincy issue, out of the people's unity,
What are the dangers you think if we don't?
My goodness, we will relapse. We'll go back to the same problem. We cannot replace one conflict with another conflict. Conflict should be out. Get the people united. Politics is supposed to be for development, and the people are supposed to be for development.
Today is a very historic day. You've been here for some days now. You know how the atmosphere is. You enjoy everything about Dagbon. So proudly we are telling especially investors to come to Dagbon. And precisely Yendi. The peace we all yearning for is now here. So the best we can do is to embrace it. See each other as brothers and sisters. Without peace, we wouldn't be able to go anywhere. And thank God today was the day and is the day we were yearning for, and is here with us. The next step is to open a new chapter and move on.
To open a new chapter and move on, it must have been a very painful period over the last 17 years for people like yourself. Tell me about it. Going through this protracted conflict, how has it been like for you?
Sometimes the idea of the conflict is what some of us don't want to hear. It was as if the whole of Dagbon was boiling. No, it was just some misunderstanding between some people and who thought maybe I should have this and you should have that. And when we have compromises like we have now, everything will go on well. So thank God, I'm saying we don't want to revisit all that happened. It was painful moment. It was bad moment. Sometimes you couldn't broaden your chest and say, I'm a proud son of Dagbon. But now, believe you me, anywhere at all you go, you can say, yes, I am one. I'm from Dagbon. I'm a Dakomba, and a proud one, of course. So we are very happy.
Well, I'm a member of Damas, the youth group that has been championing for this day for some time now. Though we are from various homes that can be aligned to one of the factions, but from day one, we have decided to play a neutral role so that if our leaders see we the youth coming together and putting aside our differences, which is non-existing anyway, because there's no difference between an Abudu and Andani, and it's been said without number that these two kings could trace their lineage to one father, which is in the name of Yana Yakubu Nanto. So we think that today there's no Abudu and Andani, and it's a great day for Dagbon. This is what we've been looking for, and thank God that we are witnesses to this day.
You heard there some people from Dagbon, the Gombas, sharing their thoughts on what's happening today and what it means to the peace process they've been yearning for years. But let's now bring you a profile of this man for who the president and many other notable people have arrived in Yendi. Yana Abukari VII is the new Yana. He's the son of Yana Muhammad II and a grandson of Yana Andani II. He was born in Yendi in 1939 by Queen Duhili Aishetu, daughter of Kulongpe Na Abukari. In accordance with Dagbon's traditional system, which requires a prince to go through a promotional process before he becomes Yana, the new Yana was first appointed to the Pungpuno skin, then to the gate skin of Savelugu in 2011, from where he rose to the kingship of Dagbon, now known as Yani. Now, as the Yana, he appoints all important chiefs in Dagbon, sub-chiefs, sub-divisional and paramount chiefs. He is the allodial owner of the land of Dagbon, which is 14,416.5 square kilometers in area, with a population of about 1 million people. The Yana is a successful farmer. He has, I beg your pardon, great experience and expertise in bullock plowing. In the 1960s, he trained many farmers in bullock plowing in the northern and upper regions. He is a skillful horseman as well. Thank you so much for staying here on the JoyNews channel. I'm Bernice Abubeidu Lansa, and as our continuing coverage of the investiture of Yana Abukari Muhammad II, the 44th Yana of Dagbon. And just by way of giving you some background, the people of Dagbon have been without a Yana for the past 17 years after the assassination of Yana Yakubu Andani II. It's been a lot of back and forth. Previous governments have tried to bring peace. Many people have died, paid for their lives. Today, what we see is historic, and that's the investiture of the new Yana Abukari Muhammad II. We've got our cameras live in Dagbon, my colleague, in Yendi, I beg your pardon, my colleague, Justice Bedu is also there, and we're expecting the president to arrive anytime soon for the program to begin. We are told that the Asante Hene Otumfo Osetu II, who led the committee of eminent chiefs to draft a roadmap for the peace process in Dagbon, will also be in attendance. We're also learning that the president of the National House of Chiefs, Togbi Afede the 14th, will also be there. As you may have seen, that if you've been with us since we started this coverage, we've got former presidents in attendance. We've also have the General Secretary of the largest opposition political party, the NDC, also there. Johnson is here doing Ketia. We've heard from sons of the land who hold really key and important positions in the country, like the NPA boss Hassan Tampoli, who's at the Gomba himself. And we've also heard from the youth of the area who believe that this is the beginning of something great happening in their kingdom, where they would see more investment, they would experience peace, and Dagbon or Yendi can develop. We've also been bringing you some analysis talking about the role of the chiefs in this entire process. And I must just mention, by way of reminder, that in 2003, President Kufuor constituted a committee of eminent chiefs. That was 1 year after Yana Yakubu Andani II was assassinated. And after a long period of deliberations and negotiations, representatives of the two feuding clans signed a roadmap to peace on 30th of March 2006, and that was 3 years later. Now, the roadmap to peace at the time enumerated 5 major benchmarks in peace building. And let me tell you what those included. It included the burial of the late Yana Andani II and the installation of the regent, and then the performance of the funeral of Yana Mahamudu Abdullahi IV, and the performance of the funeral of Yana Yakubu Andani II, and finally the selection and inscription of a new Yana for Dagbon. I must say the roadmap presented to President Akufo-Addo in 2018 was not so different from what was agreed at the time in 2006. So we saw the funeral of the late Yana Mahmoud Abdullahi IV, followed by that of Yana Yakubu Andani II. And as you may have heard earlier, there were a few threats to the peace process, but once again, the Asantehene Otumfuo to the second-led committee of eminent chiefs stepped in and gave direction that the process must continue as planned. And today, the president is in Yendi for the investiture of Yana Abukari Mahama II. Historic indeed. And we'll bring you all the updates you need to know on this particular event. And I must say all the attention currently in the country is in Yendi. And we will bring you all the updates that you need to know. You're watching JoyNews Desk. Please don't go away. We'll be back with more.